Hey everybody, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth, as always with ideas and insights, what to pay attention to when you're growing and scaling your business and you've decided you don't want it to be all on you and you need a team that's excellence driven, that can lead itself and that can truly help you focus on profit and grow the business with you. So the question really is here, do you want an excellence driven team that runs itself and takes care of your day-to-day in an awesome way? Or do you want a culture of oversight and control, which is what you're going to get when you don't have good systems and processes in place that help you establish a self-led team that has true autonomy and has all the things that it needs to have so that they can make decisions without you, so that they can make really good decisions without you, so they can take great care of your clients, and that they can also help you grow and scale the business. So you are here because you want a team that can solve its own problems, who are strategic thinkers, and who can help you focus on producing more profits. Now, you already know it takes systems and processes and the right people and the right culture to be able to do that. And quite honestly, culture is the underlying foundation of everything. Because look, culture is such a buzzword, but what it really means is this is how people behave when nobody's watching. These are your values, these are your standards, this is the way people show up, this is the way people behave, this is how they behave with each other, this is how they behave with your clients. This is your DNA of your company. So when you think about this, well, actually, I'm going to say culture is number 2, because your culture can't really grow. It can't really be the right culture unless you hire the right people who are interested in sharing these values and standards. And look, I'll be quite honest here. We work with hundreds of leaders in all different industries, over 50 different industries, all different sizes, all different phases of business. And one thing we find over and over and over is when you don't hire with the focus on shared values and shared standards, it'll feel like you're rolling a boulder up the hill for the rest of time that you're working with this person, because they don't care about the same things you care about, and that's going to be really tough, even if they're really good at what they do. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we need really strong shared values that are not just communicated once when you're hiring people, but they are communicated every day with every action, every win, every celebration, every challenge, every one-on-one conversation, every team conversations. Everything that happens in the company needs to consistently be reconnected to values and standards. This is why something is working and this is why something is not working. Because if you don't do that, if it's just something that was said once and never gets mentioned again, well, guess what? People have no idea how their behavior is influencing what's happening in the company and what's happening in the business. So for most of our clients, when they first start working with us, they might even have a semblance of culture or values in place. And look, if you think you don't have one, you do have one, just probably not a good one. So when we think about, values, they can't be generic. They can't be just those buzzwords that you might have seen on somebody else's website, like, honesty, integrity, name it, right? You've seen it. It's something that means this, like something different to everybody else, and it's totally generic and it's not your company. Because look, the right people, when you hire the right people, they really have to understand what your mission, your vision, and your values are. And they have to be focused on that. So your mission, of course, well, you'd think everybody is clear on that because that's what you do. This is what you already do. So when that's not clear, and sometimes, I see people's websites and there's this long drawn out thing that they're explaining, and I still don't understand what is it that actually that this company does. It needs to be something that it's a sound burst. It's something that when you say it, it's one sentence and everybody immediately gets, oh, this is what they do. Vision, it's the piece that I harp on all the time because it is so crucially important. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's the context you give everybody to really understand where this company is going, how they fit into it, what the opportunities are, the benefits, and also what the responsibility is in this. And values is a huge piece of that because this is how we behave. So mission, vision, values always goes really closely together. So that's why they can't be generic. So because when you just say, honesty, well, honestly, it means something different to everybody. And it's not something that is unique to your company. When we teach our clients how to articulate really meaningful and memorable values, we make sure that it follows a very specific format, because even though it might describe honesty or integrity, but we're going to talk about what that sounds like in your company, how they can relate to it, because that piece is the crucial thing. It has to be relatable. They have to be able to see themselves in it and understand what their behavior in that instance actually means. Okay, so this is a huge thing. So it has to mean something, it has to be memorable, and it can't just be something that gets communicated once but then it doesn't get practiced. There's nothing to connect the dots to it. So when you think about what really, like the right hire in your company who can really truly help you create more profit, who can help you run the company smoothly, who can make your day so much less stressful, who can take care of your customers and make sure they actually come back, nothing is possible if they are not the right fit for your culture, your values. So the easiest way to think about it is like, are they a can-do, will-do team fit, right? So can they do the work? Will they do the work? And do they fit into our template here, who we are? And, we, in our program with our clients, we work that out a little bit further. We filter everybody through what we call the 4 it's. So one it being, can they do it? As in, do they have the skill set to do it, what you want them to do? Which also means you have to be really, really clear about what that is that you want them to do. So do they have the capacity to do it? Do they get it? And get it is your culture. This is who you are, how you operate, how you treat each other, how you treat your clients. Do they get it? Do they want it? Like, do they actually want to show up? Do they want to be successful? Do they want to be an integral part of your company? And here's the really big one, if you're really looking for A+ players, is do they need it? Because A players inherently need to do a good job. Otherwise, this is part of their identity. Otherwise, they don't feel good about themselves. So those 4 are really massively important to get the right people on the bus, to build the culture that can self-perpetuate, that can build a self-led team that actually shows up, that goes the extra mile, that can think strategically, and that can take the stress and the details out of your life so you can focus on the stuff that counts. So the right DNA is massively important, because we can't make wine out of water, right? If you have people who are not the 4 it's, who are not the can-do, will-do team fit, there's nothing that's going to work. So when we go back to culture, think of it as these are like your amendments. This is who we are. This is how we think. This is how we show up. And this a lot of it is focused on being. Like, how do you focus on something? It's the engine that drives everything. So when you hire, you must hire for this first, because your values and their values have to match for this to be a good union. Because just think about that. If they are robots who are pretty much just showing up for a paycheck, and maybe they even do what you tell them to, but that's all, well, you won't get the passionate thinkers, believers who show up and give you their all while they're working with you. If they are expecting to come in and it's just a 9 to 5 and they expect to be, your quintessential employee who just gets told what to do and then they do it and that's all. Well, that also means they want their life to be very predictable and structured. So if that's their understanding of the job, but then you are more of the entrepreneur who is thinking 24/7, who really wants somebody who can think on their feet, who shows up above and beyond, who actually is an entrepreneurial thinker versus an employee thinker, we have a huge mismatch from the start. So this is when I see hiring mistakes, a lot of times it started right there. So right now, there's a big issue. I was just reading an article about it where many people have been hired to work from home and now they're being asked to return back to the office. And that's kind of a basic issue. But that is a huge issue because now we have a giant values mismatch, right? It's like somebody came in expecting they were going to be able to work from home, and now the companies, like big companies like Amazon, are just requiring for everybody to come back into the office. And that's not going to go well. So when you hire, you must care about that match, and you must be honest and tell them what your goals and expectations are, what you expect, how you want them to behave, how you need them to show up. Because if you don't say this from the start, you're not going to get the right people on your bus, and you're not going to have a culture that can help you achieve the results and the freedom that you're really looking for. So let's say you did all that, and now you have the right people on the bus, but how do you take care of them? Because yes, and this is really different from how people used to think, taking care doesn't just mean paying them. Taking care actually means being invested in their growth, in their advancement, being their coach and mentor, and making sure that they get what they need so they can actually produce at the highest level for you. So, think about this. It's like, if you're a gardener, you don't just toss seeds on dry soil and you expect that to work. You know that you have to water that and fertilize and prune to have the plant that you want to have, right? So the beauty of this is when you put in the work and the intention to build a great culture, once it's set, as in everybody on your team is in, now it's actually something, your biggest work is done. It becomes self-perpetuating, but that also means you and your team, you have to live in it all the time. Like I said earlier, it's not something that you can mention once and even set once and then walk away. It has to be something that consistently gets tapped so it keeps actually developing. So you must live in it. It has to be something that's part of the daily conversation. So you want to talk about, what are your values? What do you care about? How does your company look at it? How does the team look at it? How does the customer look at it? Like I said earlier, how do you treat each other? How do you treat your customer? And part of that is when problems arise, how do we solve them? And the point here is we. And the value is we all solve problems together. It's all of our problem, not just somebody's problem. And that also takes care of that sentiment that somebody might think it's not their job, because the well-being of the company is everybody's job. And when you hire like that and you talk like that and that's your DNA and that is your culture that you set, guess what? You're going to have people who actually work like that. So all communications that you have to be around, this is who we are. Everybody solves problems together. Every problem is everybody's problem. This is how we operate. And for that to work, your team, everybody on your team has to be decisive and committed and coachable and resourceful, because decisive here means, and these are the 4 values that are crucial in our company, because decisive here means they have the confidence that they need because you gave them the skills, you gave them the context, you gave them the support so that they can actually make decisions on their own and run without you and not just constantly be dependent on you. So that's the context you gave them. Committed means, well, look, we don't stop until we all decide it's done. Like, we're all committed to seeing everything through. And coachable, of course, is huge because they have to be able to take feedback from you and from their teams to have a highly functioning team. Because as a highly functioning team, that also means, if you've been following me for a while, you've heard me talk about the 3 levels of delegation, and level 2 and 3 depend on that you have a team that can actually delegate to each other. That also means they have to be able to have crucial conversations with each other when something isn't working and give each other feedback. So this is where they can support each other and they can also play nice with each other. And in a lot of situations, that means leaving their ego at the door. And that's really tough for people sometimes. But these are, again, things that you hire for, that you watch out for, and that you keep implementing and keep installing in people so it becomes part of your fabric. You can't have, like, we were just talking to one of our longtime clients who was having a really hard time with one of his employees who he hired because she was really, really brilliant at what she does. And she was causing him huge stress, anxiety, and problems because she was, one, not a team player, but also because she didn't take feedback, she couldn't be constructive. I mean, so many things that went along with what we call the brilliant a-hole. Because I've seen this over and over, especially when you're talking about scientists, when you're talking about engineers, anybody who is really focused on their thing that they do, and they have this deep level of expertise, but at the same time they can't relate, they can't play nice with the team, they can't really collaborate, and you rely for an autonomous, self-led team that can take care of your business. You rely on those pieces. So when you want, this is, you want to watch for those warning signs, because that can destroy your culture. And if you are not, like what we talked about with our client, is for him to tolerate that kind of behavior sends a really hugely wrong message to the rest of the team. So you want to make sure that you watch out for those warning signs and that you don't tolerate anything like that, because your culture is fragile. Even when you have great people, it takes not very much for everybody to start thinking about stuff you really don't want them to think about. It's just human nature. So when you want an autonomous team that's focused on helping you make more profit, we need the right people, we need the right culture. And what else we really need is you have to, like, once you have that piece, you as the leader have to give them the 3 C's. If you haven't heard me talk about it, it means you have to give them the clarity, you have to give them the context, and you have to give them the certainty. So they can't solve their own problems and make decisions if they don't understand the big picture. And that's really what your context is about. And I talked a little bit about that earlier. That's your vision, it's your long-term plan, it's the what, right? What are we actually doing? Where are we going? How do they fit into it? Where's this company going? What are the opportunities? What are the benefits? But also, what are the responsibilities? What do they own? So you must give them a really crystal clear vision and keep relating back to that vision, like, so that they can really handle the day to day. And part of that is being focused on profit. And look, I just talked to somebody yesterday who was really worried about if she shared those business details with her team, that would cause entitlement. And here's the thing. When your team sees that the company's making money and they're feeling like they're being underpaid, or they want a raise and they see the company is making money, but you haven't given them the knowledge to understand what it actually takes to run the business and where the company is actually at from a profit perspective, well, that really creates not just entitlement, but increases it creates a huge amount of resentment. And that is something that is way worse than anything else. So do you give them every single number? Not really, but you want to make sure that they understand the numbers that are truly important for the business and how they can affect them. So when you have that resentment and entitlement, it truly stems from that you may be treating them like an employee with little or no context, and it's up to you to teach them business acumen so that they understand what it takes to get to those numbers and why you need to get to those numbers so that you can have a healthy business, because without a healthy business we don't have anything, right? So help them understand those pieces that are within the scope of their role and how they participate into reducing cost and increasing revenue. Tell them how they participate in that with what they do. So, and then once you have that and you have people who are truly jumping in, when the culture is we're focused on profit, we're all solving problems together, we're showing up above and beyond, we're focused on the health of the business, right? So when they really show up like that, you want to incentivize the behavior you want to see. So, but here's the caveat. In most people's minds, that means, oh, I have to pay them even more. Well, you may not, because contrary to popular belief, money is not everything. For a ton of people, and there's lots and lots of statistics about this, once they meet their basic needs, money becomes not that important. So you want to find out, you want to know the people who report to you and make sure that your leaders do the same with the people that report to them, and that goes all through the company. You want to know what they truly care about, because for some people, yes, it's money. So you want to have a growth plan with them that sets milestones that they can reach to have those incentives. It doesn't just happen if they do the job. It happens for a job exceptionally well done. So that is how you give incentives. And for some people, that's why I brought up the example of Amazon and the whole return to the office thing. Well, that for a lot of people, that's going to cause them to not want to continue working for the company, and they might start looking elsewhere, or they quit outrightly because that's a huge value that's really important to them. And for them to feel like, hey, I'm being valued and I can do a great job, they don't want to come into the office, right? So is it money? Is it flexibility? Is it more time off? This is something that you have to understand, but you want to incentivize the behavior you want to see so that people do more of that. And another mistake that I see a lot of our clients make is when they hire talent, or when they want to hire talent, they pay far too much right off the start. You want to make sure that who comes in, they love your mission, your vision, and your values enough that they come in wanting to see where it's going. So this is where you have a growth plan for them so that they can see, hey, if they perform, this is what they can do. But it's not about paying them the highest possible rate from the start, because that's how you truly create entitled people who don't have a clue what it actually means to run a company. So, and this is also how you can ensure that the people that you hire, they're there to do a good job, because when they know they can perform, why would they mind being on a growth plan? So you want to give them this incentive, and you will also see, this is going to be the moment where you can divide the wheat from the chaff. Are these people who are coming in to knock it out for you, or are they just coming in because they want to coast and have a smooth ride? And that's, of course, not going to help you to get the results that you want. So that's why we need the context. The clarity we absolutely need, because it builds confidence, because what they need is specifics and feedback so that they have certainty. So clear goals and expectations for clarity means that we talked about the vision for the context, but the clarity here is relating it to a really good performance plan that helps them understand what the goals and expectations are, that are measurable, so that we can actually give feedback and improvement suggestions and help them grow so that they can reach those goals. If it's not measurable, how do we know that we're being successful? And this builds their certainty when you give them specifics, when you give them feedback, so that they can truly show up as an autonomous team member. So you want to help them understand, define what success means, define what failure means, and then also give them a chance to fail. Because if you're not willing to give them a chance to fail, you will never challenge them enough. So when you do that well, they fail in a way where it's a huge lesson for both of you, so that you can coach them to succeed the next time. And now you have a truly actualized team member. And look, I mean, the fourth C around this might be compassion, because this is truly where, when you have a team member who's screwing up, but they did it with the very best intentions, the best thing you can do is to coach them around this, because that's how they see that you care and that they actually want to build this relationship with you and show up for you. So help them build the relationship with them, build the commitment with them. And when you take care of all these pieces that we just talked about, that's when you can build a culture of high performance with committed winners who love to work with you. And that's why culture is so important all the way through. So we talked about how to make sure that you have the right people who are focused on what's important. So you have shared values when you start the hiring process, how you build the culture that makes sure that they're focused on the same goals and expectations as you are, and then how you can keep building them and growing them so they can keep getting more valuable. So if you want more of this, we're teaching an awesome new workshop next week. Starts on September 30th, goes through October 7th, an hour a day, keeps the chaos away. Like I always say, show up. It's at 5 p.m. Eastern, so we really want to make it possible for everybody to show up. 5 p.m. Eastern, September 30th through October 7th, an hour a day. Show up, get registered. I'll put the registration link below, and let's get this knocked out. Have a great rest of your week.